Hello, welcome, and I want to disclaim that I'm just expressing what appears here. I'm not trying to be a teacher. Please take everything I say with a grain of salt. The truth can't be spoken or known conceptually. It can be felt, sensed, but not known, in my humble opinion. There's a misconception in this community among seekers, I feel, and I know what it's like to be a seeker. We're waiting for this moment when suffering falls away and we can just allow and accept enough or see clearly enough that we'll become this ideal version of ourselves. And I think some teachers try to point us away from this, most definitely, but it's like we don't hear it, as seekers. And we still have these idealized standards waiting for suffering to fall away, waiting for our neurotic thoughts and behaviors to fall away. I can see clearly that no one is here, and yet being nervous on camera still arises. Frustration. And I have a sneaky suspicion that anything can arise. Anything. And I don't know why this isn't spoken about more often. We're setting ourselves up for a big disappointment. It's obvious that things fall away on the path. But our conditioning is deep. And I don't know if you ever heard about a lovely man called Nisargadatta Maharaj. But he was self-realized. And he eventually realized that there was no one here. And his frustration and anger and smoking habit never went away. It was just, he saw that it wasn't him doing it, that it was a pattern. And we all have these specific patterns. We all have these apparent individuals that don't go away. Preferences don't go away. As far as, do I like chocolate or vanilla? Preferences change, though. They become impersonal. As seekers, we have this magical thinking. We're like little kids watching Disney movies, wanting to be the prince or the princess. But what this path is leading us to is impersonality and full allowance of whatever arises. contraction, density, confusion, energetic sensations. Those things can arise anytime on the path, even after no self-realization. And I don't understand why more people don't speak about this. These standards that we have can be the last thing there that's keeping us from seeing clearly. Because we think it has to be a certain way. This has to happen, or this has to not happen for me to see clearly, for clear seeing to arise. That's not true. Clear seeing could potentially happen anytime on the path because it's always here. The reality of non-duality is always here. It's primary, prior. And why do we think it should change anything about the individual? Make us better in some way? Things fall away, neuroticism, beliefs, they fall away. But at no point on this journey, whether it's deep stage realizations or initial awakenings, should we expect for things not to arise randomly? Thoughts, emotions, triggers. What makes us think that that's going to go away? What belief did we pick up along the way that told us and we believed that this is going to live up to some standard that we imposed? We need to drop the standards if we can, or at least hold it as a seed in our being that maybe the standards aren't what it's about, and let that seed blossom over time into a deep relaxation, a deep trust. Is there anything wrong with being triggered and having thoughts and emotions? I mean, it doesn't always feel great. But ask yourself, is there anything wrong with this? What in my sense perception is telling me that there's something wrong with this? I'm trying to look into the camera, noticing on my previous videos that I was looking all over the place, which is natural and normal. I mean, nervousness and fear of what people will think, it arises. It can. Anything can. I've had a hard time making eye contact my whole life because of self-obsessed, egoic ideas that I believed in, that I wasn't good enough. The person is a beautiful phenomenon. It's a piece of art. Spontaneous. Whether it's neurotic or clear, anything can happen. This conditioning runs really deep. And sometimes we have integration periods and purging periods. And who's to say when that will end? It may never end in this life. But what does it give you when you sit there and tell yourself that you're going to live up to some standard of being holy or whatever it is when you wake up? And I'm saying you, but I'm really just speaking to my experience. I'm speaking to myself years ago